Well, happy Wednesday. Today is April 22nd. It's our 23rd day of distance learning here at home. And I would just like to remind you that last week we planted some seeds, and I know I showed them to you yesterday, but I really want to show them to you today too, because look what a difference a day makes. Look at the squash plants. They're getting huge, and this is the last one to pop out of the ground. You can see he still has a little bit to pop out. But these guys are doing great. And if you look at the tomato plants, they're starting to really get bushy. I'm going to have to trim these back and take some of them out pretty soon because you don't want too many plants growing too close together. Think of it this way. If your teacher made 1, 2, 3, 4 kids share the same seat, would you guys be happy all sitting close together? Probably not. So I'm going to have to move some of these plants a little later. Remember to water your plants really well the first couple weeks because they are doing so much hard work growing and making roots and making leaves and beginning what they need to become squash and tomatoes. Go ahead and keep up with your garden. If you haven't planted one yet, it's not too late. You can get seeds from Walmart, you can get seeds from Target, or even if you have old seeds lying around the house, you can from last year or the year before, they do germinate. And if you have a tomato plant or a tomato in your refrigerator, you can take the seeds out and use those. So there's no excuse not to try to grow a garden. Have fun with it. Well, we're inside now, and we're going to practice writing our letter W. We're going to try for 8 really good W's because 8 is our number of the month. Let's start at the top, and we're going to go diagonal to the bottom, up to the middle, down to the bottom, up to the top, all on diagonals. Remember, try to make it wide so that you can see every line, not squished together. Make sure that you go from the top line to the bottom line, all the way down. You don't want any W's floating in the air. No. All the way down to the bottom, to the middle, to the bottom, to the top. All the way down to the bottom, to the middle, to the bottom, to the top. You want your diagonals to look like diagonals. Do not have straight up and down lines. Let's see how many I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, only, how many more do I have to do? I'm going to put 5 in my head and I'm going to keep counting. 6, 7, 8. Ooh, that means I have 3 more to do. Down to the bottom out of diagonal, up to the middle, down to the bottom, up to the top. Down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up. Try to do your best with your W's. If you know you made an obvious mistake, go ahead and cross it out and don't count it. And then for your lowercase w's, remember it's just 2 V's parked next to each other. So we're going to start at the dotted line, down, up, 2 letter V's squished together. We never lift our pencil, it's straight through 2 V's. Now, when you do this, make sure you're going all the way down to the bottom and all the way to the dotted lines. You don't want it floating, you don't want it down here. You want it to be clear from the dotted line to the bottom, back up to the dotted line, from the dotted line to the bottom, back up to the dotted line. Down, up, diagonals for everything. 2 V's next to each other. Down, up, down, up. We probably should call the W a double V because we're really making V's. Let's see, down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up. Now I didn't count. I don't know if I have enough or too many, so I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It worked out perfectly. I had 8 really good capital W's and 8 really good lowercase w's. Now next we're going to take our Play-Doh out. And moms and dads, brothers and sisters, grandmas and grandpas, if you don't have Play-Doh at home, if you look back at episode 1 on my YouTube playlist, you'll see that we made something called edible Play-Doh. It's made with powdered milk, which I know you can get in the stores, powdered sugar, and peanut butter. And if your kid does not have a peanut allergy, the texture is just like Play-Doh, and they really can eat it. It's non-toxic. It'll last in this a baggie for weeks. I'd still be using mine, but I ate it all. So I bought some regular Play-Doh. Kids play with Play-Doh in the class, and I'm sure you guys have played with Play-Doh too, but let's try and make this a little educational. We're gonna roll out a nice long worm, and I'm really only gonna make one W here because they're the same things. They're just one smaller. Well, no, I guess I'll make two because there's a little difference. So I'm going to roll out a really long snake. I'm gonna cut it. And for my big W, or my capital W, I'm going to start at the top, go up, I want to make it a diagonal, go down, and go back up. Now, it's kind of hard, you may have to pinch it, and you can see that I have some left over. Cut it off. Now for my lowercase w, we want to make sure that the pinch in the middle is at the same spot as the beginning. You really want to try and get them to form a really nice W. Super Preppies, I know you can do this. W, you got this. So make sure your W's look really nice. And then of course you can always take them apart and turn them into a snail. My W just turned into a snail. Nice and easy. It's always fun to play with Play-Doh. I'm sure you guys have had lots of good Play-Doh time. Now, the one thing I wanted to do that's on weekly happenings from Miss Doe's class is that I wanted to talk about W words that we can find around the house. On Monday, we found these words: water, watch, wand, white, wind, wood, and window. So today I figured I would add to the list. Now I'm wondering, ooh, I'll add wondering. I'm wondering what other words begin with W. Let me sit here and think for a minute. Did I just whistle? Sometimes I do my best thinking when I'm walking around. Walk. See if you guys can add to this list. See if you can come up with some more W words. I'm sure you can. If you just look around the house, you might find some stuffed animals that begin with W. You might find some good foods that begin with W. You might even find parts of your body that begin with W. Now that nose, no. Ear, no. Hair, no. Head, no. I know. We all have one of these, and we like to wiggle it. Wiggle. And I'm talking about what you use when you have a hula hoop out. You use your waist. You wiggle your waist in a hula hoop. So with just a little bit of thinking, you can come up with a long list of really cool W words. So it's now calendar time since we've finished working on, working on our letter W's. That's another W word I'll have to add to my list. Do you guys remember what month it is? Of course you do. We've been doing this for several days. Now you know it is the month of April. So let's do our days of the week. I bet we can do our days of the week song. Days of the week. 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 There's Sunday and there's Monday. There's Tuesday and there's Wednesday. There's Thursday and there's Friday. And then there's Saturday. Days of the week. 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 Alright, so after days of the week, we usually do our pattern. I know you know your pattern, so I'm going to give you a minute to just look at this week, just from the 19th on, and see if you can guess what today's pattern is going to be. Well, I have it right here, and I'm ready to put it up. Do you have your guess? We have rainbow, umbrella, raindrops. And so today, if you guessed rainbow, you're right. Now I need some super preppy counting here. I want you guys to all count with me to our new number of the day, 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, almost there, 19, 20, 21, 22. We made it all the way to 22. I'm going to say that, April ends next Thursday. So we're coming close to the end of our month. And then we'll have a whole new month to start in May. Now, let's talk about what today is. Today is definitely the 22nd. I'm going to put my little hat here, but we're going to follow it up, and we're going to find out that today is Wednesday. So I'm going to put my Wednesday card here. Today is Wednesday. Yesterday, remember that's what comes in front of it. Yesterday was, I'm going to put my little cap on and follow it up. Yesterday was Tuesday. So let me put my sign up. Yesterday was Tuesday. And tomorrow hasn't happened yet. So tomorrow is in the future. Tomorrow will be, let's go all the way up to the top, TH. When the TH are together, they make the sound. So this is going to be Thursday. Let's put in tomorrow will be Thursday. Today is Wednesday, yesterday was Tuesday, and tomorrow will be Thursday. I think it is time for us to come to the front door and take a quick peek out for the weather. I can see my dog taking her nap outside, and my cameraman has our camera pointed straight up. I think we're going to have this kind of weather that we're seeing here for quite some time. Come on in and let's figure out what the weather is today. We have snowy, rainy, windy, cloudy, sunny, and partly cloudy, which means sun and clouds. What did you see when you looked outside? Pretty sure you saw what I saw. We're gonna go with sunny. So let's put up, our weather is sunny. We had some interesting weather earlier. We had some rain and some clouds, but I don't think we're going to have any of that. In fact, the weatherman tells us that today is expected to be very hot. So make sure if you're playing outside, you have some water, you cool off, and enjoy yourself. It's time for story. So when I first started this, I had to go out into the garage because my only child is 13, and I don't have too many books at home that are children's age. And one of the things I found was that I kept a lot of his favorite stories. And when my son was little, he loved trains. Now that he's older, he still loves trains. So I was able to find a lot of good storybooks with trains in them. Tootle is one of them, and it's today's book. Tootle is by Gertrude Crampton, and the pictures are by Tibor Gergely. Far, far in the west of everywhere is the village of Lower Train Switch. All the baby locomotives go there to learn to be big locomotives. The young locomotives steam up and down the tracks, trying to call out the long, sad toot of the big locomotives. But the best they can do is a gay little toodle. Lower Train Switch has a fine school for engines. There are lessons in whistle blowing, stopping for a red flag, waving, puffing loudly when starting, coming around curves safely, screeching when stopping, and clicking and clacking over the rails. Of all the things that are taught in the Lower Train Switch School for locomotives, the most important, of course, is staying on the rails, no matter what. The head of the school is an old engineer named Bill. Bill always tells the new locomotives that he will not be angry if sometimes they spill the soup pulling the diner, or if they turn the milk into butter now and then. But they will never, never be good trains unless they get 100 A+ in staying on the rails no matter what. All the baby engines work very hard to get a 100 A+ in staying on the rails. After a few weeks, not one of the engines in the Lower Train Switch School for Trains would even think of getting off the rails, no matter what. One day, a new locomotive named Tootle came up to school. Here is the finest baby I've seen since old 600, thought Bill. He patted the gleaming young locomotive and said, "How would you like to grow up to be the flyer between New York and Chicago?" "If the flyer goes fast, I should like to be one," Tootle answered. "I love to go fast. Watch me." He raced all around the roundhouse. "Good, good," said Bill. "You must study whistle blowing, puffing loudly when starting, stopping for a red flag waving, and pulling the diner without spilling the soup." But most of all, you must study staying on the rails no matter what. Remember, you can't be a flyer unless you get a 100 A+ in staying on the rails. Tootle promised that he would remember and that he would work very hard. He did too. He even worked hard at stopping for red flag waving. Tootle did not like those lessons at all. There's nothing a locomotive hates more than stopping. But Bill said that no locomotive ever kept going when he saw a red flag waving. One day when Tootle was practicing for his lessons in staying on the rails no matter what, a dreadful thing happened. He looked across the meadow. He was running through and saw a fine, strong black horse. "Race you to the river," shouted the black horse and kicked up his heels. Away went the horse. His black tail streamed out behind him and his mane tossed in the wind. Oh, how he could run. "Here I go," said Tootle to himself. "If I'm going to be a flyer, I can't let a horse beat me," he puffed. "Everyone at school will laugh at me." His wheels turned so fast that they were silver streaks. The cars lurched and bumped together. And just as Tootle was sure he could win, the tracks made a great curve. "Oh, whistle!" cried Tootle. "That horse will beat me now. He will run straight while I take the great curve." Then the dreadful thing happened. After all that Bill had said about staying on the rails no matter what, Tootle jumped off the tracks and raced alongside the black horse. The race ended in a tie. Both Tootle and the black horse were happy. They stood on the bank of the river and talked. "It's nice here in the meadow," Tootle said. When Tootle got back to school, he said nothing about leaving the rails. But he thought about it that night in the roundhouse. "Tomorrow I will work hard," decided Tootle. "I will not even think of leaving the rails no matter what." And he did work hard. He practiced tootling so much that the mayor himself ran up the hill, his green coattails flapping, and he said that everyone in the village had a headache and would he please stop tootling. So Tootle was sent to practice staying on the rails no matter what. As he came to the great curve, Tootle looked across the meadow. It was full of buttercups. "That's like a big yellow carpet. How should I like to play in them and hold one under my searchlight to see if I like butter," thought Tootle. But no, if I'm going to be a flyer, I must practice staying on the rails no matter what. Tootle clicked and clacked around the great curve. His wheels began to say over and over again, "Do you like butter? Do you?" "I don't know," said Tootle crossly, "but I'm going to find out." He stopped much faster than any good flyer ever does, unless he's stopping for a red flag warning. He hopped off the tracks and bumped along the meadow to the yellow buttercups. "What fun," said Tootle. He danced around and held one of the buttercups under his searchlight. "I do like butter," cried Tootle. "I do." At last the sun began to go down, and it was time to hurry to the roundhouse. That evening, while the old chief oiler was playing checkers with old Bill, he said, "It's queer, very queer. I just found grass between Tootle's front wheels today." Said Bill. "There must be grass growing on the tracks." "Not on our tracks," said the day watchman, who spent his days watching the tracks and his nights watching Bill and the chief oiler play checkers. Bill's face went stern. "Tootle knows he must get a 100 A+ in staying on the rails no matter what if he's going to be a flyer." The next day Tootle played all day in the meadow. He watched a green frog and he made a daisy chain. He found a rain barrel and he said softly, "Toot toot," he shouted the barrel. "Why, I sound just like a flyer already," cried Tootle. That night the first assistant oiler said that he had found a daisy in Tootle's bell. The day after that, the second oiler assistant said that he had found hollyhock flowers floating in Tootle's 8 bowls of soup. And then the mayor himself said that he had seen Tootle chasing butterflies in the meadow. The mayor himself said that Tootle had looked very silly too. Early one morning, Bill had a long talk with the mayor himself. When the mayor himself left the Lower Trainswit School for Locomotives, he laughed all the way to the village. "Bill's plan will surely put Tootle back on the track," he chuckled. Bill ran from the store to the next, buying 10 yards of this and 20 yards of that, and all you can have of the other. The chief oiler and the first and second and third assistant oilers were hammering and sawing instead of oiling and polishing. And Tootle? Well, Tootle was in the meadow watching the butterflies flying and wished he could dip and soar as they did. Not a store in Lower Trainswitch was open the next day, and not a person was at home. By the time the sun came up, every villager was hiding in the meadow along the tracks, and each of them had a red flag. It had taken all the red goods in Lower Trainswitch, and hard work by the oilers, but there was a red flag for everyone. Soon Tootle came tootling happily down the tracks. When he came to the meadow, he hopped off the tracks and rolled along the grass. Just as he was thinking what a beautiful day it was, a red flag poked up from the grass and waved hard. Tootle stopped, for every locomotive knows he must stop for a red flag waving. "I'll go another way," said Tootle. He turned left, and up came another red flag, this time from the middle of the buttercups. Then he went right. There was another red flag waving. There were red flags waving from the buttercups, in the daisies, under the trees, near the bluebird's nest, and even one behind the rain barrel. And of course Tootle had to stop for each one, for a locomotive must always stop for a red flag warning. "Red flags," muttered Tootle. "This meadow is full of red flags. How can I have any fun? Wherever I start, I have to stop. Why did I think this meadow was such a fine place? Why don't I ever see a green flag?" Just as the tears were ready to slide out of his boiler, Tootle happened to look back over his coal car. On the track stood Bill, and in his hand was a big green flag. "Oh," said Tootle. He puffed up to Bill and stopped. "This is the place for me," said Tootle. "There's nothing but red flags for locomotives that get off their tracks." "Hooray!" shouted the people of Lower Train Switch, and jumped up from their hiding places. "Hooray for Tootle the Flyer!" Now Tootle is a famous 2 miles a minute flyer. The young locomotives listen to his advice. Work hard, he tells them, and always remember to stop for the red flag waving. But most of all, stay on the rails no matter what. I just wanted to look this up real quickly. This story was made in 1979. So if you think about it, that was 41 years ago. Very good story. Well, it's time to write our 8s. I'm going to put a big smiley face here so I know where to start. Remember, with the 8s, this is not in the corner. It's actually in the middle of the number. We're going to go around to the halfway point, around to the bottom, around to the halfway point, around to the top. I know it's really clunky when you go this slow and you think about each step. But if you do that several times and you go super slow and think about each step, when you start doing it faster, then it's really not that hard, because you're showing yourself that you can make a big round 8. I don't like the 2 zeros because oftentimes there's a space, so you can't stack the zeros on top of each other. Let's see if I made 8 8s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, can't count that one, so I need to do one more. I think I can squeeze one in here. Around and around, around and around, from top to bottom. There are my 8 8s. Now today, we're going to practice making a tally. In the classroom, we practice this on a web page that the teachers all have, where they have an apple tree and they pull apples down. And this is to teach the kids about basic number recognition, how we go from left to right in a tally. It will help them later on in more complex math skills. So I'm just going to draw an apple today. Okay, that's a weird looking apple. Color it in, give myself a stem, and I have an apple, just like I pulled it off the tree. We're going to keep going. Remember, Super Preppies, we fill up the top line first before we go to the bottom. There's another apple. I'm doing pretty good here. Now I have to make 8. I know there's 5 in the top, so I know I have to fill up the top completely. But then I have to start paying attention to make sure I do enough. Remember, Super Preppies, that when you make a tally, that you, oh, and by the way, parents, this was just a sheet of paper that I stuck in, that I drew a simple tally on so that I could use it again and again. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I always come back over here. I'm not allowed to go to this side. So I'm going to come back to the left. Oh my goodness, my red pens are just not working. This one's dying on me too. Ah, I may have to make a green apple. Okay, we'll have to make a green apple. I'll have to change the color of my apples. Oh no, I think I went too far because I filled up my whole tally. I didn't mean to do that. I better count these out and see how many I have to get rid of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's where I wanted to stop, but I gave myself 2 extras. There we go. I'll get rid of those. Now, in Miss Doe's weekly happenings, she wanted you to try and make the number 8 with your fingers. So I know this is 10 fingers, this is too much. So let's see if I can count out to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I made it with 2 hands, 5 on one hand, 3 on the other. Let's see if I can change that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I still got to 8, only my fingers are different. I have 4 on this side and 4 on this side. I'm going to have to borrow my son's hand for a minute. Just his hand. Okay, so his hand is here, and he's going to put up 1 finger. Okay, that wasn't too hard. There's 1, and I'm going to use my hands to do the rest. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see I have 7 over here and 1 over there. That allows me to try different combinations. You can do this with your mom or dad or brother or sister. We're trying to count up to 8, but we have different combinations each time. So if I were to do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then over here I can put 7, 8. Now I have 6 together and 2 together. 6 plus 2. So you're adding different kinds of numbers to make the number 8. See how many different combinations you can come up with. Well, today is such a beautiful day. I wanted to spend some more time outdoors, which means my dogs might start barking and you might hear a train go by or some sounds, but we'll just try and work straight through it, like my neighbor's landscaper is using his leaf blower. Anyway, we set this up last week, and I'm really lucky that the little rain we got over the weekend didn't get rid of it. If you look on the ground, you're going to see letters, numbers, shapes, and colors. I have the entire alphabet out here in capital letters. I have numbers from 1 to 10, and I've included the number 100 just for some fun. I have simple basic shapes that preschoolers in the district are expected to know, such as triangle, square, rectangle, circle, oval. I stuck in a crescent and a star. And I have different colors of sidewalk chalk. These are all basic concepts that your preschooler has to master. And if you have any sidewalk chalk, I really recommend doing this. If you don't have any sidewalk chalk, I've tried to make all of these activities with stuff you can do that you already have at home without stepping out too often. You can use pieces of paper and you can do different shapes, letters, colors, and numbers and tape them all over your house if you don't want them out in the yard, or tape them down to the ground, the walls of the outside. You can just use paper and markers or crayons to make your own thing like I've done here. Now, last week we had the kids hopping from numbers to letters, jumping, crawling, walking sideways, walking backwards, twirling, all kinds of physical motion skills. And today what I wanted to do was to give you another alternative if you set this up already. You can have your kids start at the letter A, which for me is over here in the shade, and make it a letter hunt. Now they have to go and say the whole alphabet. So if I start here, I'm going to say A, B. I have to figure out where I put the letter C. This may require a little bit of thinking. Oh, way over here. C, D, E, F, G. You can see how they're moving all around the yard. They can go all the way from A to Z. You can also have them do a number count. Start at the number 1, which would be right here. And, oh wait, sorry, number 1. And then go to number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. And they can count all the way to 10. You can have them try to go to 6 purple shapes or 3 light blue shapes and throw out different numbers. and get them to practice their numbers, their colors. You can have them move from shape to shape only. They can't touch letters or numbers, and they have to be able to say what the shape is. So I would start over here and say triangle, because I'm standing on the triangle. I could move over here and say circles, because there are 4 circles underneath my feet. And you can continue this all around. Another thing you can do, I mentioned last week, is I purposely wrote all of my letters in capitals. If you give your child a piece of sidewalk chalk, you can have them start at the letter A, and then when they get to the letter A, they have to bend down with their own sidewalk chalk and draw the lowercase letter next to it. So then they're not only practicing their alphabet, they're getting out, they're moving, they're outside in the sunshine, or in my case, the shade of a giant pine tree. And they're actually learning too, because they're practicing their writing their alphabets as well. So when you go to make this, make sure you make it all capitals or all lowercase so that the kids can practice. If you're going to do the numbers, have them do tally marks next to the numbers so that they know each number. They can practice just simple lines next to them. If you're going to do shapes, have them draw the shape next to the shape they're on. Have fun with it. Kids are evaluated 3 or 4 times a year on these basic principles. Do they know their letters? Do they know their numbers by sight? For their letters, do they know the sounds that go with them? So another thing you can have them do is stand on the letter and say the sounds. So I'm on the letter A, I would say A and A, because A has 2 sounds. If I came back over here to B with my dog Paula, I would say B, B, B. So move around, get the kids out. You can stretch this out. I really could have stretched this all the way out into the street if I wanted to. I have a dead end, so there's no traffic, and it's easy for me to do that. But you can have it going down your sidewalk. You can have it going in the backyard. Really stretch this out. Have the kids out and about and having fun. One more thing for today. Let me come over here. I wanted to show you, since I end every day with a website you can check out. My website for the day is abcmouse.com. I can't believe I haven't put this one up here yet. If you go on to it, it's got a 30-day free trial, so if you're not a member of it, you can sign up for free. And then it's only $10 a month, which, I don't know, we're coming close to summer, and if you wanted to use this over the summertime, this would probably be a valuable resource to get them kindergarten ready. Super Preppies, I hope you had a good day. I'll see you tomorrow.